Welcome back to another episode of the Jock Podcast. Today we're at episode 3. So we'd like to thank you fellow, as John would say, Jocksters, for joining us again. And in traditions of John, here we go.
I did arm day today just for this.
Whoa! I was going to say when you got to my house, I don't know if it was the lighting or the shirt or what.
It's the shirt. The key is to get a nice tight shirt in the arms and the chest area, a little loose maybe everywhere else while you're still building that bod.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, Johnny Schwarzenegger. All right. So we have something really exciting for you guys today to talk about. To slowly or quickly recap what we hit. We talked about our foundation and kind of getting started in this process to becoming a better man. And we were kind of going over, what we do personally and how we get there, how we achieve our goals. And one of the most important things after you're finding your foundation, if you haven't already, is having a vision. In the words of Helen Keller, paraphrasing Helen Keller, she talks about the only thing worse than being blind is having sight with no vision. That's just, think about how strong that is. How strong, how meaningful it is to have a vision. Because essentially, if you don't, you're kind of aimless, right? And then you can put in all this work, all these deeds that you think are good, all this time and energy spent for what, right? So, John, if you could kind of tell our jocksters, what is vision? What is having a vision?
Yeah. Well, if you Google what a vision is, it's going to tell you first. It's going to tell you what you can see, things that are ahead of you. Yeah. And that's not exactly what we're talking about, but it goes around the right path, right? A vision is something that you might see down the road. What do you want your life to be? Where do you want things to go in your life? The vision, to me at least, because vision can be a little different to everybody else, but a vision to me is where you see your life, where you see yourself. It might not even be your life, right? Yeah. You're building a company. Where do you see the company being in 50 years? And then from that, which we will get into deeper, how can you take those actionable steps to work towards your vision? So to me, to paraphrase and sum it up, the vision is that long-term goal that you're working towards every day.
Martin Luther King, I have a dream.
That's it.
Yeah. He, I mean, that pretty much nails it. And honestly, it's seeing what the future can be, right? And it goes a step further, not just seeing what it can be, but after you create this vision, you're determined and you just have so much more emphasis on everything you do on a daily basis. And then you work through your mission statement, which we'll talk about on another episode. But after you have that vision down, concrete, written down, wherever it needs to be, that you're really going to find that direction, right?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. So for those people that might not understand, this vision is such it could be a long-term thing for someone, right?
Yeah.
Your vision could not come to fruition for 50 years, but that's what you're building towards. So why does vision come so soon and so early in the process if it might be something that you don't see for years down the road?
Yeah, so Stephen Covey talks about having, it's in the book, about pretty much building something in a jungle, and you do all this hard work to find out you're in the wrong spot, or you get to the top of the tree and you notice that you're in the wrong area. I'm probably butchering that, but you get the point. Dave Ramsey has a similar quote. It's actually about mission statements, but it's talking about getting to the top of the building only to see you're at the wrong one. Something along the lines of that. Yeah. So when you have this vision, right, we think about you have to ask yourself, really, where do you want your life to be? Of course, if somebody asks you, you can probably come up with this quick answer. Oh, I want this. I want a house. I want kids. And that's pretty common. That's a common response, right? But when you have this person that just has this certain way about them. You look at all these successful entrepreneurs, successful athletes. They do the Fortune 500 companies. They do the corny mission statement visions. Yeah. They do all of that.
Yeah. So I in my experience in the corporate world, I've done it for the companies I've worked for and companies that we've worked with. They have core values, right? They call it their core values. And every new hire that comes on, honestly, it starts in the interview process, right? They explain their core values. One of the companies I've worked with, the owner played baseball, and he made his core values into pitcher, which was an acronym. P standing for passion, I integrity,
I love that.
T trust. It basically spelled out everything that they wanted their team and their company to represent. Yeah. Right. And you start with it in that interview process, because if you don't resonate, and this works both ways, right? It's not always, hey, why are you working for me? It's hey, if you're an employee and you don't represent those core values, we're not going to be a good fit down the road,
Yeah.
right? So they bring it on early in order to say the work that we do on a daily
Mhm.
basis, the clients we represent, our employees, they all fit to those core values, and they're not just making a lot of money and making
Yeah.
employees
Yeah.
happy. These are like true,
Mhm.
deep internal things, and I mean, the best companies in the world all have core values,
Yeah.
and if they're good about it, they're making sure that every single person that wears that logo
Mhm.
is represented by their core values.
All right. So let's take a step back.
Yeah.
We talk about us on an individual basis, right?
Okay.
When we go into that company,
Mm.
we should already have our own vision. And
Correct.
if this company's core values don't support our own vision, then and if they don't align, that's the point where you got to leave. And that's how important this is. Because if you want to end up, you need direction. If you want to end up there where that vision is, you're going to have to do the right process and act accordingly. So that's when you get into your goals, right? Your 5-year goal, your 3-year goal, your 10-year goal, and essentially your vision could, like you said earlier,
Yeah.
be that 10-year
Yeah.
goal or 50, whatever
Yeah.
you see for your life. So I encourage all of you, if you haven't already, take time. Same thing as your foundation. Take time. Now you have your foundation. What do you want your life to be?
Mhm.
What do you want to see in 50 years?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that can be tough too, which is, I've been through it before. You've probably been through it before. And I'm sure Jocksters all have. Take the example of the core values, right? Um, if you're in a situation where you're interviewing to work for a company, work takes up a lot of your life. Like
Lot.
a lot of your life. You're spending so much time with these people,
Yeah.
so much time with that company. And when you're looking for jobs, often you're in a vulnerable spot, right?
Mhm.
You might need money pretty
Yeah.
badly. You're unemployed, so you're feeling lost, right?
Mhm.
I'm It's hard to do, but I'm urging you to not, if your core values and your integrity and everything that you
Mhm.
are building in your life does not line up with this company just because you really need money or because you really need a job, I promise you that will end up making you step back 10 times
Yeah.
as worse as in the interim, like, yeah, I need a job, I'm going to take this. That could be detrimental to what you're trying to
Yeah.
build down the road because
Yeah.
you're getting into a deeper cycle and all that. So
Yeah.
I'd say all that to urge the jocksters to, like,
Mhm.
hey, don't just, these decisions are hard
Yeah.
sometimes to keep things aligned.
Yeah. That's actually a really good point. I'm glad you said that. And of course, there's scenarios where, if you're providing for a family, where maybe you have to take a
Hmm.
temporary
Hmm.
job that it doesn't exactly align with your goals, but it could still fit into your vision and
Hmm.
your long-term goals. But you have to understand that this is temporary.
Yeah.
That you're only there temporarily, and you have a plan to get out of there.
Hmm.
And that's where it's really important. And hopefully, if you follow our steps, you're not going to end up in that position.
Yeah.
But life is
Yeah, it is. And
life's not
but
predictable.
that's also when all the things that we're talking about, when you have that strong foundation, when you're starting to build that strong structure, when you have your core values and your mission and your vision, you should be this strong individual to
Mhm.
where, hey, I can make that decision. If this doesn't align with what I'm going to have a tough conversation
Mhm.
internally first
Mhm.
with those around me that I love, and then with whatever this company, this potential relationship, this friend
Mhm.
that's not fitting with that, and then I'm strong
Yeah.
enough to make that call.
And something so awesome about having your foundation, like once that's set, really everything in life, it's all going to fall into this. So everything else, you can be flexible
Hmm.
to an extent. And there's a
Hmm.
real fine line there.
Hmm.
And you have to understand that. And we can't help you understand that. That's something you're going to have to find on your own. But I believe with that foundation, you're going to find yourself in the right spot to make that right decision when the time comes.
Yeah. Like, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So, I've had the pleasure of working with RNL before, and you have such a good relationship with a lot of your employees, at least from my point of view, and you do care, and you can see. I've heard you on the phone with employees, like
Mhm.
the gratitude. Speaking
Yeah.
of very highly, do you have conversations with your employees of like, hey, here's my vision. Here, do you fit with this? Do you align with what I'm doing? Do you have those conversations?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point as well because we actually, so all of my employees, first of all, I understand that without my employees, I have no company.
That's big.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I understand that. I
Yeah.
understand that they're essentially the backbone of that company.
Yeah.
So yeah, I need to keep them happy,
Yeah.
and I also need to be careful of who I hire, right?
Hmm.
And it's definitely a process, but I will say that I know all my employees on a personal level, And we do have these talks, these deeper conversations. I don't get too personal with them,
Right.
but I do talk to them, and I ask them their goals. I have one guy that does a lot of work for us. He wants to open his own company one day. And honestly, I admire this guy. He is a phenomenal worker, phenomenal. And I encourage him to open his own company.
Yeah.
And I talked to him about kind of little adjustments we need to make sometimes, me, him, whoever it is in the company. And I always go back to like, hey, you want that $1 million company yourself, right? And like, it starts now. And he's so awesome. So I really don't have to have those talks with him, but that's because he's so deeply rooted, and understands this. But yeah, I definitely talk to them about why it's important. I don't just tell them, hey, like, we got to do this. It's like, hey, this is what our company represents. This is where we're going, and we're doing it by doing or living up to this expectation. So yeah, I do have those conversations, and
that also, to me, you doing that and you having those conversations, it makes it a lot easier for said employee to go out and clean storage units and know why they're showing up at 7 o'clock in the morning, wearing their R&L shirt, looking professional, not, eating and drinking and leaving trash around. Honestly, that happens a lot on construction sites, right? And I've been on construction sites with your team where we're cleaning up other people's trash because their team might have left it, and we're not saying a word about it. They're sweeping it up, and we're moving on and not saying a word. And whatever we leave, it's not even said; it's just taken, and that's a part of those core values that everyone lives out.
So we were one of the best compliments I've ever gotten since owning R&L was actually from an employee. And after a hard day's work, they told me, and to be honest, this is an employee I don't even know too well. He said, "You're the kind of boss that makes me want to show up to work."
Wow.
Yeah, and that really hit me. At first, I was like, thank you. And then on the drive home, I'm like, what did I even do? And, it's just, I think it's just having that vision and understanding if it comes to a company, right? Having that vision and understanding that everybody is a moving part and we all have to align there, right? Because once we do, all that incentive is created just within that, right? So now all of a sudden, I want to make sure my employee has that same vision. I want to make sure they're showing up and doing a good job, but I also want them to feel like they're doing an amazing job and understand why they're working so hard.
Yeah. Well, I'll go back to that employee that wants to start his own company one day and do such a good job. Just think about it. If you're feeding into him through your values and your mission and your vision, he has his own vision, but obviously he's helping you build your vision up too. And if he's not doing a good job here, he's never going to get here. So essentially, the more you feed into him and he sees the value and all that, he's working towards his vision too. So that's something to keep in mind. It's pretty cool helping you. I'm saying that you can help other people build their visions too, right?
Of course.
Obviously, if you're aligned with the right people, your visions should be tracking in a similar way.
Yeah. And as we spoke about earlier, about once you have your foundation, you have everything you need. Your vision shouldn't change much, but priorities do change. Say, for example, you have a vision of something you kind of only considered for yourself, right? And all of a sudden you meet the girl of your dreams. Getting married, you're having kids, that vision may shift, it may change, and that's okay. It is necessary.
Yeah, it should change.
It is necessary, and fortunately, you have your foundation already, so it's not hard to come up with a vision, right? You know who you are, and you know where you want to go. So, with that being said, I think we covered, what a vision is and why it's important.
Yeah.
And essentially, it's going to hold us accountable to our daily actions. That is really what it comes down to. And I just want to encourage you guys to take time, don't just write down your vision. Oh, I want to be here. And if you really think of what you want for your life, where do you want to see yourself? Joe Rogan he does an amazing job. Be the hero of your own story, right? Think about Stephen Covey talks about at your funeral. What do you want people to say? Everyone's standing around there. What do you want your legacy to be? Who do you want them to remember? I want you to think about all of that And then I don't care if you're into Marvel comics, whatever the case may be, but that hero you make, that hero you create is who you're going to work towards. That is exactly where you're going to go. So
yeah. Well, let's be a superhero then. I'm going to end it there.
I like it. I like it.
All right. Thank you guys for listening again. And next episode, we'll feed into this a bit. I'm not going to give you any homework tonight.
No homework?
You guys are free. No homework
Wow,
tonight.
good teacher.
No
Good teacher.
homework tonight, because next episode I think is very important. That's where a lot of the homework is going to come in. We're going to get into more of the mission side of your vision and those day-to-day actions.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for that one, and check it out. And we again, we're having fun growing with you guys.
Yeah.
And building this thing up together. We're cheersing on the way out.
One more.
Cheersing on the way out.
Cheers on the way out.